By the way, my indie game is coming out this year, wishlisted on Steam to make it come out faster. So, the thing we were supposed to be sleeping in for 2 nights, because of course we booked for 2 nights, was Insect Central, and that's when we realized we had made yet another oopsie. So when we were booking places to stay, we didn't zoom into the map very much. We were just kinda like, okay, we wanna go to Norwich. This place is in Norwich, let's go. But actually our accommodation was like an hour away from the actual city. So that kinda sucked. We weren't really planning to drive anymore today, but we kinda had to unless we wanted to cuddle with some cockroaches for 2 nights. So by the time we stocked up on camping supplies and successfully purged the tent, it was getting pretty late and we needed to eat, as people tend to need to do. But no biggie, we're close to a village. Surely we can simply, peacefully walk into the village and get some cute little food at a cute little locally owned pub. After all the expenses in Dover, we weren't really itching for fine dining, you know. But first of all, the pavement from the farm to the village just straight up stopped existing at some point. So we were walking on a 50-mile-an-hour road with no pavement, and then we finally reached this cute little pub, and it's like minimum £20 per dish. Like, alright, we'll go somewhere else. But the next place is like a 15-minute walk away. I don't know. When we saw that there was a village close by, we were expecting something like this. You know, a couple shops, maybe a pub or two. But no, it was more like this. Like a line, with like an entire mile between everything. We chance it and walk all the way to the next pub, which looks promising. It's small, very cute. We walk in, and it's like one of those Wild West movies where the music stops and everyone looks at you like, who are these strange men walking into my bar? We're not serving food today, only tomorrow. Okay, next place. Another 10-minute walk later, and it's even more fancy and expensive than the first place. But wait, there's another pub hidden behind it, and they stopped serving food. So guess who got to walk all the way back? That's another thing about the UK I could complain about for hours. There are so many places like this. Just these completely unwalkable towns where you genuinely need a car to get anywhere. You can probably imagine how much it sucked to grow up in a place like this, and it was a big reason why I was such a shut-in as a kid. I genuinely couldn't get anywhere without someone to drive me. Even the buses back home would stop so early that by the time school was done, I literally never had time to go anywhere and do anything. Anyway, we ended up finding a takeout, and after walking all the way back, including walking on that beautiful pavementless 50-mile-an-hour road in the pitch black, actually had a pretty nice rest of the evening with a campfire and some delectable curry. That's one thing I miss about the UK actually. I love curry. Tim, not so much. So my partner and I were chilling by the campfire, loving life with our genuinely amazing food. Meanwhile, Tim is sitting there forcing down soggy chips and the driest chicken wings known to man. I felt so bad, but it was so funny. And then he has to sleep on this foldable metal bed that he barely fit on, and basically collapsed in the middle of the night. Meanwhile, we didn't even wake up because we were so cozy. I feel extra bad about all of this in hindsight because this isn't even the end of all the crazy bad luck that Tim in particular had during this trip. You'll see. Anyway, Norwich itself was actually a really cool city. Would have been extra cool if we'd actually stayed somewhere close to the city itself. As we discovered by accidentally staying in Rich People Village, Norwich is kinda expensive. We even kinda overpaid for the tent, despite it being literally the cheapest option. Our final task for the day though, was a small side quest we'd had since the beginning of the trip. Watch the Euro Cup semi-final in an English pub, England v Netherlands. Which was not gonna be too easy considering our excellent accommodation choice. There were only 2 places showing the game, and our original plan was to go to the one that was not as far away, the cute little one. But after doing some research, we encountered something strange that would become a reoccurring theme throughout the entire trip. They specialized in Thai food. So, I left the UK in 2017. And apparently sometime within the last 8 years, a huge amount of pubs now specialize in Thai food. And I like Thai food quite a bit. I'm just a bit perplexed as to when this particular phenomenon occurred. Like, Spoilers, but it was actually really hard to find classic pub food. Where's me bangers and mash? And in this particular instance, we really wanted pub food because, you know, it just kinda adds to the experience of watching a football game in England. So we ended up at the pub that was furthest away, and later scooted over to the fancy place next to it because the other place didn't have a TV, of course. And it was like elevated pub food. Like a bit more fancy and expensive than we were expecting. But I gotta say that was genuinely the tastiest spicy chicken burger I've ever eaten. When paying, the waiter asked if I was paying for the whole shebang. That's it. I just found that endearing. And then we watched the game, and felt pretty out of place, honestly. It's like the whole village was there and everyone knew each other except us. Still a pretty cool experience though. Cool vibes, especially considering England won. But we did have to leave pretty soon after the match ended, you know, considering our 30-minute walk home. Also, the £6 pints were very oof-owie. So, Norwich was not exactly the experience we planned or were expecting, but definitely not a bad time overall. I think I'd recommend staying close to the city and also having lots of money. Also, I gotta say, I think the farm experience is probably genuinely pretty cool if you take your own tent or camper van or something. Just renting the space itself and not the pre-set up tents is probably a lot cheaper and more worth it, especially if you're gonna do like the kayaking and stuff that the farm offers. It seems actually pretty fun for like a family or something, and not, you know, 3 bozos on a road trip. So of course we did the exact same oopsie of staying too far from the city on our next destination, Peterborough. At least, this time we only stayed 1 night, and in an actual apartment, that was actually cheaper than the tent. We just kinda went to Peterborough because it was sort of on the way to our midway point, Manchester, and while on the way, we were researching things to do and constantly kept coming across, Peterborough sucks, do not go there. But it was actually really cool, aside from the ongoing pub food situation. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad we only stayed 1 night, there's not a ton to do, but in terms of expectation versus reality, it was the complete opposite of our next destination, Nottingham. Nottingham's like, kinda one of the more famous UK cities, I guess, you know, Robin Hood and all that, so kinda high expectations. Did you know that Nottingham Castle doesn't exist anymore? I'll admit it took us an embarrassingly long time to realise. They have made a decently cool museum out of what's left of it, but sadly there's not much castle to see. The cave tours are probably cool, but we're all booked out by the time we were there. But hey, do you know what else is cool that's in Nottingham? The supposed oldest inn in England, said to have been established in 1189, and it's been bought out by a chain. Thankfully its interior hasn't been changed much. It's still pretty cool to have a drink in this ridiculously old building. But man, seeing this historic building now owned by literally the worst pub chain in my opinion was sad. However, the real kicker, after all of this, was our accommodation for the night. It truly was the suspicious cherry on top of this mass-produced cheap pub chain cake. I cannot describe to you in words how beautifully terrible this place was. From the stunning view to the bathroom door, also known as straight up just a plank of wood, have fun listening to your roommates as they do their business. This was true luxury. So like imagine we've had a sort of disappointing day in Nottingham, and we decide to just chill, use the rest of the night to regain our energy, maybe watch the Robin Hood movie, you know, 'cause Nottingham, and we get sent to this ominously stained, falling apart, genuinely uncomfortable room in desperate need of a deep clean since the 70s. And the TV looks like this. Like, it's hilarious in hindsight, but we were genuinely so depressed that we actually did nothing for the rest of the day. I don't know, like, I still can't get over how bad it was. And there was like this German family checking in before us with their kids, like, imagine they're distraught. And yeah, it was totally on us for picking something fairly cheap and not checking the reviews enough. Actually, now's a pretty good time to mention that we were pretty limited with our options because we had a car. The places we stayed at needed to have parking, which reduced our options pretty severely. If we didn't have a car, we'd have had a lot more options within the cities themselves that would have still been pretty cheap. Maybe with some research you can find some places to put your car while you stay within the city, I don't know, something hindsight, lessons learned for next time. A lot of lessons. Also, the light in the shower was this putrid yellow-green color. Very cozy. If you enjoyed this series and want to hear more about our adventures in Stoke-on-Trent, Manchester, and the Wild West after we had no more places booked, please consider supporting me on Patreon to help me make more. The other parts I made so far are also in the description. And don't forget to do your research before staying in a cheap hotel. Please.